Welcome to another session of the Clarity Digital Podcast. I'm your host, Al Sefati. In this session, we're joined by Arvell Craig, AI evangelist and author of the AI Strategy Playbook. Arvell shares insights on tools, practical strategies for marketers and professionals, and the future of AI. Let's dive in. Welcome to Clarity Digital Podcast. Glad to have you here.
Yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
For listeners and audience, I met you in Portland. You had a very impressive session about AI playbook. You have a book about it that you gave me, and yeah, and I've been reading it, and I'm like, this is good stuff. It's very straight to the point. We marketers read a lot, so those thick books, and that's one thing I do like about your book is bullet points, straight to the point. It's like really a good playbook.
Thank you.
When you have an update, please let me know so I can get the latest update. Why don't you introduce yourself for our audience a little bit and about your personal and professional background? Then we can go from there.
Got it. Sounds good. So my name is Arvell Craig. I am an AI evangelist, strategist, and consultant. I've been in digital marketing for over 20 years. The internet changes a lot. If you've been around for 10, 20 years, you know that it's always been a passion. It's been fun and it's been business. It's a unique aspect. I got into it when I was young, when I was in college. And so it's always been a game. It's been a passion. It's been fun while making money. So as compared to someone who just understands the business aspect and studied business and profession, and people told you what to do and they taught you and you had a corporation, I was hustling and figuring stuff out on my own in college. And then as things evolved from Flash to websites to SEO, it's all been like, oh, that's new. Oh, that's the way to make money. And because I never really had a job or a corporation or a boss or a mentor, that's how it's been, which honestly has its pros and cons. As of now, one of the things that really caught my attention was chatbots, and the way people communicate changed majorly globally. You'd say 2016, 2017, 2018, and I got into chatbots, and that what led me into this AI world. Chatbots was the thing. I was big into email marketing automation, soap opera sequences, direct response. I loved email compared to social because I could mass communicate. But if people responded, I could have one-on-one conversations because with automation, you could click and you could track and you could create new funnels and email just by clicking. And so when chatbots came out, it was somewhat similar when we used Facebook Messenger or even websites, HubSpot, Drift. To me, it was very similar. We called it email 2.0. So it was a new way to communicate, and also SMS. And so that became a focus. And of course, 2 years ago, ChatGPT comes out. And it's not the same as what we used to look at as chatbots, which was more logic, if then, if it's a different technology, but it was similar enough that some of the skills and nuances of how to communicate to someone in an automated way, some of those principles are still connected to how I use chatbots, especially when I'm thinking about a sales or marketing or conversational marketing, conversational AI context. So all those things I bring to this AI world. And again, because I'm a nerd, because it's fun, I'm an early adopter. So I quickly use technology. I test a lot of things out for my clients so they can hopefully save time and money, because a lot of things don't work as they promised. Chatbots promised a lot. People got frustrated and they shifted. Same way ChatGPT and AI and all these things. There's a promise where people play with it. It doesn't work right. It doesn't do as people expect. So I have that middle ground where I'm first, but I also go deep and learn how to use it best and find out the best practices so people can balance the expectations for what's real and what's not real. That's a little bit about me, a little bit of my background, a little bit about what I'm doing today.
I'm glad you brought up chatbots because when I tried to, for a client of ours a few years ago, tried to train the chatbot, it was at the early stages. And now it's all of a sudden the things have exploded since the ChatGPT is so much easier and so much better. And there's a lot of tools and stuff, which we're going to cover. You covered a few of them in your book. But let's go back beyond chatbots. What can marketers do with AI today? What is some application of AI? And what is the difference between AI and generative AI? A quick introduction.
AI, artificial intelligence, has been around for, I don't know, 50 years. So it's nothing new. It's software, it's computers, how to make a computer smart, big computers, machine learning, massive amounts of data. So again, developers, scientists are who would typically use it, bigger companies, Generative AI invented around 2017, 2018. And today, when we think about ChatGPT and generative AI, the difference is that it's made for anybody. Anybody can access it. You don't have to be a developer. It's a consumer-based opportunity. It's generative, so it generates. It's not just
Mhm.
processing the past and commenting on what the data says. It's a tool you can use to create something new. It's
Yeah,
so smart. It knows so much history of what people have written in the past. You can ask it questions and it can create new content. It can predict or guess
yeah,
the answer to most things that most people want to know. That's the best way I can describe.
yeah.
I'd say it's like Google plus Wikipedia, because the average person uses it. Just give me some answers,
Mhm.
and it's Wikipedia, it's a Google search. But again, as marketers or people in business, we know that it can also create a first draft of different types of content. Anything that you want to say in written form, it can create a first draft of almost anything or give you ideas. It's great for brainstorming and giving ideas.
It's an AI with IQ and EQ, right? It can actually articulate what it knows. I like to think about it that way because my degree was in computer science, old school. I graduated in 2002. I did
Huh.
take one class, Introduction to AI. I never thought that would be mainstream in my lifetime. I was
Yeah.
like, this is too complicated. There's too much statistics here, too many algorithms. I barely passed the class, to be honest with you. Maybe I think I had a B minus or something like that. And and I never saw applications of machine learning and Google algorithms and big data. But for it to become so available to consumers, I never thought it would
Hmm.
happen so fast. And now it's happening really fast. And every update, it just gets better and better, which is both exciting and scary because it's exciting because we as marketers, this is what we need. But at the same
Hmm.
time, it could also replace some of us, at least more junior staff, which I think that happens with any technology. And I
Exactly.
remember it also happened when computers came out, it happened when internet came out, but then it created new opportunities. So I'm not too worried about our jobs at this point, but I am more excited than I'm pessimistic, to be honest with you. You mentioned something about as a part of a generative AI, no one has ever classified it this way. You said something like code, content, conversation, and counsel. That's like
Yeah.
categories of generative AI. I never thought about it in that categories, and I really like the way you classify them. Do you mind elaborating a little bit more about what each mean?
Yeah, sure. So again, because I do a lot of talks, keynotes, and workshops, the variety of how much people understand, there's a large gap. When I think about generative AI and what it can do, the fact that it can code, it can write software is a real unique
Mm-hmm.
aspect. Especially, again, there's two aspects. If you know how to write code, it can be your first draft, it can debug, it can help you write software. But if you don't know how to write code, you can create like a first draft of apps, of software, of HTML, of CSS, of websites. So again, I think that's a unique bucket that it writes software. So code and then content is what most of us know about, the
Mm-hmm.
text-based content reports. I'm big into coaching. I'm big into
Yeah.
personal growth, just being an entrepreneur and a
Yeah.
consultant for years. So the fact that you can have conversations with it and it can advise you, it's not about how good it is. It can help you be better at being. If you like learning, you can buy a book, but you could ask ChatGPT, teach me about this topic.
Mm-hmm.
You can there's it's a whole untapped way to interact with it. And then the last thing was conversations, which is more of the chat in a business sense. You want to have a conversation with your customer. You could have a chatbot have conversation with leads and prospects and help even onboard your existing employees. The fact that it can have conversations in itself, that's by default. Even if it can't generate words and content without hallucinating, it can understand what people want really good. So the fact that it can understand, that's the natural language understanding. It can understand what people want. It can understand your intent. Even if you write typos, if you wrote a whole sentence or three sentences full of typos and ebonics and gibberish, it would understand it. So the fact that it can have conversations and it can understand what people say, code, content, conversations, and counsel is one framework, a way to think of the four different things that they can do pretty good.
I really like that approach. It's good to, and I've done all four without even knowing it. I use it a lot. I'm running an agency, but also by trade, I'm an SEO, SEM expert. When I
Mm,
create Jira tickets for developers to fix some SEO things, I would give them high level instructions. This is what you need to do, improve the core web vitals. Now I can actually use Claude or ChatGPT to provide additional technical information from code to even servers type of information that is very useful for them. It's saving them time. I do put a little disclaimer that, hey, this is generated by ChatGPT or Gemini, whatever. But it's more of a pseudocode, so don't copy paste it and put it in your compiler. But they actually like it a lot. It speeds things up quite a bit, and I've been enjoying it a lot. And also, I've been using it a lot, and we're going to talk about it down the road on some specific marketing strategies, go-to-market
Hmm.
strategies for certain industries that we haven't had experience with before. We use it a lot, and then obviously I multitasking. I tend to have a lot of typos, and you're 100% right. It fully understands me. Oh, I know what he means. You also mentioned something about AI plays and strategies for marketers. What are some of the strategies for marketers? How do we utilize AI better to improve plays and strategies?
Yeah. So when I first learned about AI in marketing, it's actually a book called like the Marketing Artificial
Hmm.
Intelligence. I think that's what I know. It's something like that by Paul Raitzer. So he wrote a book in 2019. He's been in AI and marketing 10 years. So he wrote a book on marketing. He's got a podcast now called The Artificial Intelligence Show. And I'm in that Slack group. He was my first marketing AI teacher. And
Wow.
he came up with this framework of these 5 Ps, which
Hmm.
was if you're thinking about your marketing, of course, funnels and frameworks, flywheels, there's a lot of different ways of looking at marketing or the customer journey. But one of the things that he created was you can think about how AI can help you with your planning or strategy. You can think about AI helping with the production of content.
Hmm.
You got planning, you got production. AI can personalize certain bits of content. It can promote the content, and then you've got the performance metrics. So those 5 Ps
Yeah.
as a context is what I learned from him, which is really simple way for me to think about. So when I wrote the book, the AI Strategy Playbook, I took his categories, but again, most people I talk to just don't understand. They understand real basics. AI can write for me. It can edit my words. It can be like my Google search or Wikipedia. I wrote the book so people could understand. Just give me some basic ideas. So
So,
when it comes to planning, like I said, some things you don't know. Like in the book, I talk about from Gary Vee's content strategy or
yes.
Donald Miller's content. So you may not know those frameworks, and
Hmm.
if you don't know them, you can use AI to help you give you a strategy based upon some of the best practices that are out there. So in the planning or strategic phase, you can use AI to help you there. But before you even get into the details of the plays, one of the things I've in my talks, at least in last year, it was all about figuring out your pain point or figuring out your constraint. That to me, that's the biggest thing. Because AI is so smart, it can do so much. It's easy to get lost in possibilities. It's easy to get lost in tools. Oh, that's cool. It can take my face, my voice, and clone it. But when it comes to business and business value, especially the higher up you go, the two biggest things, the higher up your client is or most money you're responsible, number one, they're concerned with the risk. And then number two, they're really concerned with profit. How do you make
Hmm.
sure that what you're going to do is actually going to bring profit? And one thing I learned from, I think like the theory of constraints of this certain philosophy was you have to find your biggest problem, your biggest bottleneck, your biggest limitation in your business. And I always say, find that first, which has nothing to do with AI, and then try to find AI to fit there. So in your business, if strategy is your limitation, which for most people it isn't, because I think strategy is everywhere, there's probably, or then focus there. If you're not creating enough content, if you think that's your constraint, your bottleneck, where you're weak at, if you have issues with retention, if you don't create enough content, maybe that's where you start. If you've got the content, but you're not getting traffic, Google and Facebook, AI is built into their ad platform. I remember 4 years ago, all the marketers I knew, the best practices for running Facebook ads was to not choose the audience. It was like Facebook, you find them because Facebook was so smart. It's quote
Sure.
unquote old school AI. You let the AI do its thing
Hmm.
and it can actually do the filtering and optimization to find this is you getting the most clicks here. So it's like trusting the AI that was already built into certain systems is the best way to go. The pause there. The main thing is finding the constraint, find your weakness. And if you use that 5P strategy, that's one way to go about looking towards, at least I want you to start in the right place because that's going to give you the biggest benefit versus using AI to do something that doesn't really move the needle, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does make a lot of sense. Actually, I'm glad you brought up the pain points. We have a client where we were producing a lot of content, but the content was getting traffic from Google, but they were not getting the leads they wanted.
Mhm.
And we had a conversation with them. It was like, hey, I think we need to change the way we write content to address your potential clients' pain points. They're like, okay, how do we go about it? I'm like, we got to listen to your customer service calls. You can ask clients. Let's listen to those. And so we have call rail, there's transcriptions. So I'm like, great, let's just put all that in AI and ask AI identify the pain points. So we use AI to identify the pain points based on what customers were saying, and that really helped a lot. The 2025 strategies, and this is something we did in November. Now we know what we need to create our content about. It's a B2B SaaS company. We're thinking about creating blog posts, webinars, videos, podcasts around those pain points and how that client software helps address some of those pain points, alleviate some of that pain points. So that's great. You want to go with the human factors. You want to be customer centric first, and then figure out
Mhm.
what AI tool to use. If I understood your
Oh
point
yeah.
correctly, right? You want to be more customer centric because there's a lot of AI tools. You could get really overwhelmed, but if you go to what customer wants
Hmm.
and needs and what your business needs, then you can go look for tools. Is that a good approach in your opinion?
Oh yeah, it's huge to understand your market. That's really the deciphering factor.
Yeah,
Everybody's going to have the same AI tools, but it's not about the technology. It's about how well do they trust you? Does your customer trust you? Do you understand those things? Like I said, it's all those human elements that's going to help you to see the difference. So like
sure.
today, when I'm consulting with the customer, one thing is understanding the AI tool
Mm,
and where it fits. But
yeah.
the other thing is almost like, what is your secret sauce? What is your strength? What is your superpower? And how can we take your superpower and combine it with AI to scale your superpower? Because your superpower is something nobody else knows. So
Mhm.
whether that becomes part of the prompt, that becomes part of the AI solution, your insights, your perspective that you see that's unique, how do we combine your uniqueness with the AI in a scalable way? And I think bringing those two things together is one of the most valuable things that most people don't do because it's not just the AI. Everybody's going to have the same exact AI knowledge. Everybody has the same thing, but it's your sweet sauce. The fact that you've done what you've done in SEO for 10, 20 years, things that most people don't see. How do you bring that when you have employees that learn AI? However they work, it's their own framework, their own workflow, using AI to boost their own workflow. That's the sweet sauce that I'm really focusing on this year. Last year was all about, this is what it can do. Don't just get lost in tools and tech, even
Mhm.
prompting. People would ask me questions about AI. No, you don't need AI. You need a CRM. Or
Yeah.
they don't know, I need AI to find me a list of prospects. Just go to Upwork and buy a list. People without subject matter expertise would want AI to do stuff because they were too lazy to find the right person and they would waste time and energy. Or can AI make me a business card? Yes, but if Canva or Photoshop, you could do it better. There's this confusion by non-subject matter expertise. People who don't know the stuff and they would use AI. So that was my thing last year was how to get better alignment with what AI can do, what it can't do. But now going into 2025, the
Yeah.
focus is your secret sauce, your expertise, that which makes you unique. How can we scale your unique stuff that's your IP? I've got a book and I combined it with AI and I have a place where somebody can talk to my book. So the AI, all the AI's answers is just comes from my book. So that's a real simple strategy. Any client who has their own book or course, whether it's for onboarding in-house or for customer facing prospect, take your unique stuff. How do you combine that with AI in a simple format and deliver it that way? That's my focus for this year, bringing those two things together.
Great insights. It's that shiny
Yeah.
object right now that everybody wants to do something with. It reminds me of the dot-com days where everybody wanted a Flash page, and now Flash is gone because
Yeah.
a lot of websites didn't use Flash properly. I liked it
Hmm.
when it was used properly, but I really hated those annoying Flash intros when you go to a website and you have to
Yeah.
wait for that thing to load. But then
Yeah.
it had good applications, and I think understanding the application of AI and when to use it and when not to use it, what and the tools are always changing, right? There is AI only tools like you mentioned in your book, but there are also existing tools that keep adding AI features like SEMrush, one of their SEO tools that we use. They have added a lot of cool AI.
Hmm.
I've noticed HubSpot does the same thing. Even Zoom is taking notes for us, so I no longer have to use another AI tool. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about utilizing tools as opposed to getting obsessed with just having a bunch of AI tools.
Yeah, that's a good point. I typically break it down in four buckets,
Hmm.
which the first bucket is your large language model. ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude are the main, most popular ones. Funny, Grok on Twitter or X just became public. I've only tested it, but now it's publicly available. I think it's interesting that Grok might become more
Yeah.
popular because it's free now for
Hmm.
anybody on Twitter or X. Those three are the one way to use AI. You got the large language model, the chatbot, you talking to it. That's that context, which everybody needs to commit to figuring out, working on it. That's like your foundation. But then, as you mentioned, some of your legacy products, you mentioned HubSpot, almost every piece of software that you've been using for years now has AI features. So for some companies, that might be your best strategy to get
Yeah.
AI use and adoption, especially if there's compliance concerns, vendor policies, security, data issues. If you already trust the platform, whether you're using Microsoft 365, Azure, Amazon, if it's already
Yeah.
approved, that's one
Sure.
way you can learn those features. It's going to take time. It's going to take commitment, depending on your audience. If it's business owners, I always say just take 10% of your team, create an AI council, create some people. Because again, you're a business owner, you got to just make money. AI is not your main focus, but dedicate some people who are going to follow the trends and learn how to use it. You got your large language models, then you got your legacy products that are adding AI features. That might be the way to use AI. Again, Adobe, all Adobe products I now have AI in it. So again, that could be the way. Canva has AI. The
Mhm.
number three, there are those niche, unique AI niche apps, which you could say Descript. I know you use Descript for your
Yes.
podcast. I use Opus Clip for taking
I
my
use
video. So there's
I use
tons of
both,
little
right?
hacks
Yeah.
and things that are really unique because those niche apps, again, there's pros and cons. The security, you got to look into their security, their terms of
Hmm.
use and privacy, making sure you're not giving anything away, but they're faster than the larger companies. They're going to make new things, make updates. So there's all kind of niche apps. When people ask me for prompting strategies for like accountants or something, I'm like, I hear you. Let's first see if there is a niche app already built for accountants. Find
Right.
out, is there an app? Because again, there's apps for marketers, there's apps for salespeople, there's apps for B2B. So just and then the fourth option is that you can almost make your own, or you could
Hmm.
like, such as make.com or Zapier, all
Yeah.
those no code tools. There's Lindy, there's Respell, there's Relevance, there's Cassidy, there's Agent.ai, which is
Yeah.
made by Dharmesh from HubSpot, or automation or no code tools that are becoming more and more user friendly. And you don't have to be a developer, but you can actually build your own tool, build your own workflow. Those are the four buckets that I kind of share depending on security, depending on what you feel comfortable with. Those are four different directions somebody can do to find the best AI tool or way they can start using it.
Larger enterprises, especially in certain sectors, legal or healthcare, getting new software approved is really challenging and
Yeah.
time lengthy because of all the compliance issues like HIPAA and privacy issues. It's harder for certain companies in certain industries adopting new AI tools. So going with your existing tools that already been approved is definitely something that is a really good recommendation. Now you don't have to go through the whole approval process and you trust the platform. You
You
mentioned
just gave
some,
me an idea. I'm trying to write down compliance. There's all
yeah,
these websites with AI
yeah.
tools.
Hmm.
There's an AI for that. There's the rundown. But is there a compliance? I know a guy that has a marketing AI tool website. It's called
Yeah.
Cliff Notes. Cliff Notes. All
Hmm.
he does is marketing AI tools. But I thought about there, is there a compliance
Right.
friendly AI tool database. I might have to create that.
Yeah, please do that. We work with healthcare providers, and it's really hard. Even when we try to get SEMrush, they went through a lot of screening. I'm like, hey, this is public data anyways. So whether you pay for it or not, they tend to get very careful. Another thing is, I was at the B2B conference last year, and Neil Patel, everybody in marketing should know Neil Patel, he said in 2025, we're gonna double down in AI agents. Obviously, he was talking to other marketers. Let's say you're talking to other marketers, double down an AI agent in what way? That's where I was like, okay, what is it that marketers should do with AI agents that generative AI cannot do? Do you have any insights on that?
Yeah. The funny thing about agents is that the definition of what it means is up in the air. It's
Yeah,
not clear what it means.
yeah.
So that's the first thing to really get an understanding of. Again, it's back towards people make promises, they claim this
Mhm.
AI does this, but what does it really do it? So with that, I c- okay, so what is an AI agent? I think,
That's a good place to start. Yeah. What
yeah,
is an AI
yeah.
agent?
As of early January, as early 2025, the agents that we have are just some type of automation. Back to that third category or fourth category I mentioned, Zapier, Make, Respell, Lindy. It's some type of AI workflow. It's like a builder set of a prompt, an integration with another tool. It's going to generate something. It's going to attach to something else. So that is what today's most of the agents are. They're workflows that you have to build step by step. It's a prompt, it's an AI model, it's an integration with existing software. It's going to create something that's going to respond this way. It is not, which we thought it was going to be even 2 years ago. It's like ChatGPT, where you give it a prompt and it does everything on its own. And that's it. So that is what we have today. I was working at a startup called V Agents. I was there for almost a year and a half. It was a voice agent, conversational AI. These are different ways to describe the same thing. But what it really got down to, it was a prompt. I would build a prompt that would talk to people based upon the framework and the constraints of the prompt that I created, based upon the knowledge base and the goal. But in one sense, it was just a big, long prompt. It was a conversational AI that I had to build out. It was a conversation. So
Yeah.
that's what we call it V agents, virtual agents.
Virtual agents. Yeah.
But I think the real agent that is really going to come, I think probably about the end of this year, will be to me, and there's a few of these that it actually can click buttons on your computer. You don't have to build 7, 8, 9 steps yourself. It's really just marketing automation where it actually is able to control the computer and do stuff on its own and build all those steps itself. That is what's coming, but it's not here yet.
Yeah.
But I think that's what OpenAI is working on.
Mhm.
Their reasoning agent, like they've got OpenAI has basic chatbots that just do the basic talking, but then their newer versions, their most intelligent versions of AI, is called reasoners, where it thinks. For whatever reason, those who write the software have figured out that if the AI thinks before it just gives you an answer, if it thinks first, it gives you a better quality result. And so that they claim that's the basis of building a real agent that does do all the actual, not just talking back, but it builds out all the steps and it executes and clicks buttons, controls your computer, and does everything on its own. The foundation of that is being built right now in most foundation models. I think that's coming one day, but it's not here
One day.
yet. Yeah.
This reminds me of my early days. As I mentioned earlier, I was a computer science major, and I was one of those guys that was working and going to school at the same time because I was paying for my own education. I had a job at this company where, because of my programming background, I was a QA engineer. The difference between QA engineer and QA specialist is a QA engineers write scripts to automate the QA. I
Mm.
was using a tool called Rational Robot, and Rational Robot was using VB script to basically test the interface. If something broke, it would log it as an error. Now, if the script that I wrote was would click on certain button, it could in certain position that they had, and if the new UI that they move the button from here and put it on the bottom of the page, the script completely break. So I think AI agents are a little bit, they can probably solve that problem. They're a little bit more advanced automations that we used to write, but they're not quite that little robot that you want to help you do everything. But basically, what you're saying that we're getting there, right? We're gonna get there.
That's computer vision. That's
Computer
AI.
vision.
AI can do text. AI can create images. AI can do voice. It can interpret sound. You got the
Hmm.
advanced voicemail where you're talking to your ChatGPT, your whatever. But computer vision is the visual aspect where AI can actually look into your computer screen or
Hmm.
look into the real world. And it has, that's how Waymos and Tesla and all these things that are operating in robots work in the real world. ChatGPT is the whole internet, all the
Hmm.
information in written text for a large language model. It's all about word, text, and conversations. Things like Waymos and Teslas, robots understand the physical world. That's computer vision. That's a different angle of AI that works in the physical world. When it comes to agents on computers, it's that version of AI that understands the physical world plus the large language model where it can interpret. Before with RPA or robotic process automation, you had to put the pixels, you would have
Hmm.
those dimensions.
Exactly.
It was predefined instructions, but
Yeah.
now if AI can visually understand the physical world or the digital world, then it can click buttons and do things on its own versus you telling it what to do.
Talking about Google, do you think being a search marketer, I'm always curious. I am using Google less and less when it comes to informational research. I used to, when I wanted to research something, I would go to Google, click on a bunch of website listings, search results, and now I can go ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever. And obviously, you got to have the right prompt. You got to verify, make sure that there's no hallucination going on. I feel like on a lot of informational um, searches, Google's and search engines in general are becoming less relevant. And I also know ChatGPT is working on a search engine, and there's other engine, the AI search engine.
Oh,
There's a couple of them out there.
perplexity.
Yeah, that one. What do you think is the future of search with AI? Do people even need to go to search engines? Do they talk to their phones or their devices or whatever? Do you have any
I
comments on that?
I definitely think one of the biggest things that isn't talked about a lot. I think the biggest disruption is going to be voice. Is going to be the ease of using your voice to talk to your computer, talk to your phone, than going into somewhere and clicking. So that's just one thing. But so that's one major thing. It's like a different muscle. How do you can
Yeah,
talk more? If you've been doing SEO for years, then you
yeah,
definitely have the statistics on the search traffic of certain top line keywords, not the placement, but simply the search volume. You may see those trends, which would be very valuable for you to create a report, the state of SEO based
yeah,
upon your own clients. Even if you took just 10 clients over the course of 5 years, or 50 clients over the course of 24 months since ChatGPT,
yeah,
that numerical factual data. The main thing when it comes to businesses, my recommendation, you have to beef up your brand.
yeah,
So they're looking for you, not just looking for your topic. How well are you focusing on your brand in all places? Beef up your lists. I want you to have a direct mail list, an SMS list, an email list, a messenger list, a WhatsApp list, a Telegram list, a TikTok, a Snapchat, a Blue Sky, a Mastodon, reproducing your content on all these other channels using AI is a low-hanging opportunity. You don't have to make it fancy, but just be present. Again, I mentioned Mastodon and Blue Sky, which most people don't know about, or Telegram. Think about that, because again, globally, WhatsApp's got billions of people. So that's I'm like, get on more channels, build lists, have own data, own media on all those channels, get direct mail, and increase your brand. So they're looking for you specifically by name versus just a generic top line problem you saw. But that's my main strategy for companies who feel threatened by search and where search is going. Those are my two things for businesses to consider and focus on.
Yeah, in my opinion, from SEO and search perspective, I think I've noticed uh, a big drop in informational searches, but not so much transactional. People are still going to Google searching
Hmm.
that because they know ChatGPT or other search tools, generative AI. Sometimes they tend to make stuff up. An example I gave in another podcast, I was talking to a fellow SEO guy, was that there was a certain tropical palm tree that I was looking for in my backyard that I know our local Home Depot didn't have. So I was like, tropical nurseries near me, and I did it in ChatGPT, and it gave me, I think it made up this nursery that didn't exist, or
Hmm.
maybe existed 20 years ago, or maybe just made a mistake. So I actually went there and there was nothing there. There was no nursery there. I think when it comes to transactional stuff, I think Google is still more reliable, but on informational stuff, I think I've noticed a drop there. And also that also impacts some of the this, websites that only focus on informational content. I was looking at my other screen right now. Let me know if you see my screen. Do you see my screen,
Hmm. I do.
entrepreneur?
Yep.
I wanted to blog, write some marketing tips, and I write on other websites on Forbes or other Inc.com. And I wanted to see if it's worthwhile to also write on entrepreneur.com. There's a fee to get to become one. We pay them, they don't pay us.
Yeah.
When I was trying to figure out the ROI for the fee, I noticed that for the past 2 years, like the traffic, this is the organic
Yeah.
traffic according to
Yeah.
SEM
It's
Rush
huge. It's
has
crazy.
dropped a lot. And I don't know if this correlates with ChatGPT or maybe there's something else. Maybe they have other SEO issues. But I've seen this trend going with almost every news site. Maybe not so much CNN and New York Times because there's so much news and people want to
Hmm.
read the news still and they go to news site. But when your content is only informational articles, people seeking information can just ask ChatGPT, the most common tool out there, or and Gemini. I'm liking Gemini more and more. I just think that is going to be impacted, and you're 100% right. I think we're gonna have a return of voice search again. When voice search was first introduced, however years ago, 10 years ago, whenever it was dumb, Siri was dumb. Like I couldn't, it wouldn't do anything. But now with integration with OpenAI, can actually do stuff. The other day, I asked it to play music for me, and it just
Hmm.
did it. So you're 100% right, and it's yet to see like how much that would impact the search engine business. Google continues to make more money off their advertising. So for time being, people are searching, but how they're searching is going to change. We're running short on time. Where do people learn more about AI? Do you have some sites? Obviously, there's your book, they can follow you, but how do I learn more as a marketer and as a business professional? How do I keep up? I feel like it's very overwhelming. There's a lot going on. Where is a
Exactly.
few places you can go to keep up?
Yep, I've got two. Again, there's unlimited places. I have two places that I'm most dedicated to. One, as I mentioned, the Marketing AI Institute, which I think is marketingainstitute.com. They have a website, they have a newsletter, they have a podcast called The Artificial Intelligence Show. The podcast has gone beyond just marketing. But the Institute still has the marketing aspect. They put on free webinars on just the state of AI, the state of marketing. They do a marketing thing. They used to do a Drift every year. They have a live conference, Maycon. It's a marketing AI conference. A couple thousand people are go to, I think, Akron, Ohio every year.
Is this a website?
That's
It's
it. That's it.
cool.
They have a Slack group of at least 10,000 people. I'm in there and it's free to join. That's my first source. When AI first came out, the first 6 months to a year, I was subscribed to 10 different newsletters, a bunch of Twitter accounts. It was overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much. It wasn't necessary. So now I look to those groups, and there's also the AI Exchange. That's the other Slack group. That one does cost money to join. It's like $100, $200 one time to get into there.
AI Exchange doc.
Yes, I think it's an AI Exchange.
Is it this one?
Yep, that's it.
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
in their community. They
Yeah.
have a course. Anyway, it was just a really comprehensive community. Those are my main two Slack groups that I
Yeah.
look to. And the one podcast, so Marketing AI, the Artificial Intelligence Show comes out once per week,
Mm-hmm.
hour long. For most leaders, I would say just do that, number one. Number two, if you have a team of people, I would have somebody dedicated to be your AI counsel That would be the one experimenting, investing into prompting, finding the best use cases, piloting projects, things like that. Number three, I would encourage the company to have an AI policy, just as a general idea of this is the tools we recommend. These are how we use it. In my emails, I have a disclaimer saying if the email is signed Arvell Plus, that email was written with AI with more than 50%. So I have my own
Gotcha.
policy of being transparent,
Gotcha.
of letting people know this is AI or this is AI generated. So come up
That's
with your own policy, the way,
transparency.
yeah, have your own rules, your own ways. Again, make your people feel comfortable so they're not threatened by their job. AI and its inaccuracies, its hallucinations, all the problems you define are for right now. We
Yeah.
ha Leaders, you have to know within a year to 2 years,
It's gonna go
all
away.
those things are going to be gone. So we
Mm-hmm.
have to start planning for 2 years from now. We have to start getting active and not just dealing with AI the way it has been and the way it is today. I want to challenge people to rethink your business model.
Yeah.
What new opportunities does AI give you if your traffic decreases? If it's not an easy solution, but again, you've been in business for 5, 10, 20 years.
Hmm.
You don't have to solve it in 6 months, but you need to start thinking about new business models that AI is opening up to you. Business models, it's not about money. It's not about solving more problems. It's about how intimately you know your customer, how intimately do you know their problem before they come to you, and their problem after they come to you. They're not just buying services from you. They're buying services after you and other people. So how can AI help you expand the problems that you solve so that customers that you were making, the customer value may be $50,000 a year, but they're probably spending another million somewhere else. How can you increase the customer value? So even your existing customers, how can you solve more problems for them, create new products, new services with AI? They already trust you. They already like you. They give you money for this thing. They would give you money for this, that, and the other. Anyway, but that's the kind of things I want companies to think about. How do you prepare for the changes? How can AI solve more problems for your customer? Not just how it helps you write faster or write better. Solve more problems for them, and that can increase the customer lifetime value. It just changes everything when the customer is worth 3, 4 times more. Then you can do more stuff. You can partner more. I'll stop there, but that's just some
No,
things
this is, I
that I
know we
would
can
share.
go forever. We are running out of time, and I think we
Yeah,
should have you on again for future.
yeah.
Where can people find you? What kind of services you offer?
Yeah. So to find me, you can go to arvellcraig.com, or you can go to LinkedIn. It's
Hmm.
just linkedin.com/in/Arvell. Those
Okay.
are the main two places to find me. The main services that I do, again, I do keynotes and workshops for companies. For workshops and teams, I show people how to figure out the use case that moves the needle. That's a big passion of mine, is finding use cases.
Yeah.
I just started partnering with a AI newsletter, which again, if you go on my website, I'll have more information there. So it's an AI newsletter of 300,000 people, and we're growing it. In general, it's going to be consulting around how to use AI for more sales and better marketing. Depending on what a person needs, I can come up with a strategy or find a partnership, even drive traffic with this newsletter. So that's a new thing I'm working on.
I know your time is valuable. Hope we can have you again. We can talk about this AI stuff keeps
Yeah.
changing and it keeps advancing. Hopefully we can have you on again in future.
Thank you. I had a great time. It's really
Thank you
good.
so much. Have a good rest of the week. Talk to you
All right.
later.
You too.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.